The house stood in eerie silence, a seemingly ordinary suburban home in a quiet neighborhood, white picket fence, a freshly mowed lawn, and wind chimes that jingled softly in the night breeze. But inside, beyond the neat, welcoming facade, a horror beyond imagination had unfolded. It was a crime so brutal, so inexplicable, that even the most seasoned detectives would struggle to understand the madness that had taken place behind those walls. It was a murder scene unlike any other, a massacre that would haunt the town of Plainfield, Wisconsin for generations. Blood splattered across the walls, gifts lay untouched beneath the Christmas tree, and an eerie silence loomed over what had once been a home filled with warmth and love. What had driven a father to annihilate his own family in cold blood? The Lawson family appeared to be the embodiment of the American dream. Charles Lawson, a hard-working farmer, had a beautiful wife, Fanny, and 7 children who ranged in age from a newborn to a teenage boy. They lived a simple but fulfilling life, working their land and attending church every Sunday. To their neighbors, the Lawsons were kind, devoted, and full of life. But behind closed doors, there were cracks in the picture-perfect image. Charles had changed. He had grown distant, moody, prone to violent outbursts. His once kind eyes now hid something dark, something deeply unsettling. His work on the farm had become erratic, his interactions with his wife and children colder, his temper unpredictable. Some whispered that he was tormented by something unseen. Whether it was his own mind or something far more sinister, no one knew. His drinking had increased. He would sit alone in the barn, whispering to himself. Some nights he would wander the fields, staring at the sky as if searching for answers that never came. Fanny confided in a neighbor that she feared him. She had seen him staring at the children with a look that made her stomach turn. Yet she stayed, bound by duty, bound by fear. And then came Christmas Eve, the night everything unraveled. On December 24th, 1929, the Lawson family prepared for Christmas as they always did, decorating their tree, baking pies, and wrapping presents. The house smelled of cinnamon and pine, and the children giggled with anticipation for the morning to come. But as the night fell, an unfathomable horror began to unfold. One by one, Charles hunted down his family members. His first victims were his daughters Carrie and Mabel, aged 12 and 7, whom he shot execution-style before carefully positioning their bodies in the snow. Neighbors later recalled hearing what they thought were firecrackers, a tragic mistake that would haunt them forever. He then turned to his wife, Fanny, who barely had time to react before a shotgun blast tore through her chest. The force of the shot sent her crashing onto the porch, blood pooling beneath her body as her last breath escaped into the cold night air. The younger children, James, Raymond, and Mary Lou, were next. Their screams were swallowed by the cold wind as Charles silenced them one after another. Their lifeless bodies were laid out with a haunting precision, as if he had some twisted sense of order in the chaos he had created. Only one son, Arthur, survived, sent on an errand by his father, unknowingly escaping the bloodbath. Once the slaughter was complete, Charles walked into the nearby woods, his footsteps crunching against the frosty ground. Hours later, a single gunshot rang out. He had taken his own life. As news of the massacre spread, the town was left in shock. How could a devoted father commit such an atrocity? What drove him to this breaking point? Theories emerged. Some believed Charles was suffering from a severe head injury, sustained months earlier, which had triggered violent psychosis. He had suffered a head wound while working on the farm, and those closest to him noted that he had not been the same since. Others whispered about a dark family secret, an incestuous relationship between Charles and his teenage daughter Marie that had been discovered just days before the murders. Had Marie confided in someone? Had the weight of his sins finally driven Charles to madness? There were other theories too. Some spoke of financial ruin. Charles had been struggling with mounting debts and the fear of losing the farm. Others suggested that he had planned the massacre long before, as evidence later surfaced that he had taken his family to have formal portraits taken just weeks prior, as if he knew their days were numbered. Some of the most chilling theories go beyond the natural. People who visited the home after the tragedy spoke of an unsettling presence, a darkness that clung to the walls. Strange whispers, cold spots in the air, and the sound of faint sobs filled the rooms. Had Charles been driven by something otherworldly? Had he been possessed by a malevolent force that whispered unspeakable things into his ear night after night? Some believe that whatever took hold of him that night never left, that the house remains a vessel for something evil, waiting for its next victim. Had he killed his family out of shame? Out of desperation? Was it madness? Or was it something even more sinister whispering in his ear, urging him to do the unthinkable? The truth was buried along with the Lawsons, leaving behind only haunting questions. To this day, the Lawson family home remains one of the most haunted places in America. Visitors claim to hear children's laughter echoing through the halls, while some swear they've seen shadowy figures lurking in the windows. Paranormal investigators who have dared to step inside speak of an overwhelming sense of dread, of whispers that seem to come from nowhere, of unseen hands brushing against their skin. A woman once claimed that as she stood near the old well in the backyard, she felt a sudden pull, as if unseen hands were trying to drag her down. Another visitor, a skeptic, ran from the house in terror, swearing that he had seen a pair of glowing red eyes staring at him from the darkness of an upstairs bedroom. Whatever the reason behind the massacre, one thing remains certain. The house, once filled with Christmas joy, will forever be remembered as a house of horrors. The Lawson family massacre is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect life. It is a case that continues to baffle experts, a tragedy that defies explanation. What makes a man turn on his own flesh and blood? Was Charles Lawson simply a man who lost his grip on reality, or was he driven by something far more malevolent? The legend of the Lawson family lives on, retold in hushed voices around campfires, in true crime documentaries, and among those who dare to visit the grounds where the unimaginable happened. The echoes of that fateful night remain, as if time itself refuses to let go of the horror that unfolded. What do you think truly happened that night? Was Charles driven by madness, guilt, or something even more sinister? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying true crime stories if you dare.